You ready to go?
Wait, let me open my drink first.
Crack it right.
Yeah.
Right in the microphone. Perfect.
I realized I hadn't opened it. I was like, whoops, hang on.
A cold beverage is perfect for a cold open.
Mm-hmm.
Cue the music. Hello and welcome to A Game from 20,000 Podcasts. I'm your host, Gus.
I'm Caitlin.
And we watched a movie.
I fucking hate you.
I pick the best movies, don't I?
Okay, so this movie wasn't just like bad and I didn't like it. This was probably the worst movie I've ever seen. That's not an exaggeration. Within the first 10 minutes, I wanted to turn it off, but I couldn't because we were recording for the podcast, and I suffered the whole way through.
And you saw the Assassin's Creed movie.
I did see the
in theaters.
I did. Hey, that wasn't my fault. Somebody else wanted to go.
What's this fantastic movie?
Astro Zombies. Directed, and I mean directed loosely, by Ted V. Mickles in 1968.
So, the reason I picked this movie is, if you heard in the last episode, it's because the Misfits wrote a song about it. It's called Astro Zombies.
What the fuck did they have to write a goddamn song about?
I don't know. I was partway through this movie and I was thinking, did they pick the right Astro Zombies thing? Was there another movie I was unaware of?
No.
Did they just write it about whatever?
No, I looked it up.
Because my goodness, the lyrics do not make sense in regards to this movie.
I don't know that I remember the lyrics to the song.
Well, we ain't worried about that now. Now we're going to
No.
talk about fucking Astro Zombies.
I just hated this movie. Like, fuck off. Remember how I said I wanted to take an angry shit one time? That was me this whole movie.
Just holding in an angry shit from the first scene.
Yeah.
And that first scene is like 2 minutes straight of handheld footage of a lady driving in a convertible.
It's like super grainy too, so that, hooray. Horrible sound mixing. Horrible film.
She's just driving around in a convertible. They're just playing some surf rock.
Yeah, they're playing like the most generic 60s, like, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, like, rock music. And the scene, for real, when he says it's like 2 minutes long, I mean, we see this lady, like, driving straight, turning, driving straight, turning, like, and it keeps cutting back on the radio for some reason. It cut to that radio, like, 5 times.
It was 4 times, I counted.
Oh.
Because it kept going, yeah.
So
I think it was
then-
the same shot, too.
It was. So she pulls into a garage, and we're like, all right, finally, we're going to meet somebody, or we're going to get a start to the story. Again, this movie suffers from showing too much syndrome.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Showing too much of nothing syndrome.
I think that might now be known as Astro Zombie Syndrome.
No, I'm still calling it showing too much syndrome. I mean, if you want to call it that, fine. But whatever. So, she gets out of her car, and all of a sudden, this weird fucking alien mask man just peeks out from the shadow at
Just
her.
in the garage.
Just in the garage. I thought maybe we were in the middle of the movie. Like, somehow we had accidentally started the movie from the middle or something. But no, this was the beginning of the movie.
Hey, you gotta admit, it gave you a legit jump.
No, it didn't.
Because you were just like, oh!
Oh, did I? I
Yeah.
don't remember. I think it was the fucking, like, the mask was creepy rather than, like...
I think it was less of an actual jump scare and
Uh-huh.
more of just a, not expecting that.
Yeah, I wasn't scared of the thing. It wasn't, like, a jump scare.
That's why I said it was a jump, not a scare.
Yeah, it really was just like, what the fuck? Rather than anything. So...
Because this is like it's part skull, part alien. Not too much zombie, honestly.
I genuinely don't understand why this thing has to be wearing this mask, by the way. Did they ever say why?
They get into that later.
I don't remember.
Kinda, I think.
Okay, so suddenly this alien jumps out at her, and I mean horrible that sound starts. And she screams and blood splashes on the car, but the problem is it's not clear who stabbed who. There's a shadow on the car, and I couldn't tell who stabbed who. What? You're just staring at me.
I got nothing.
Also, she had the weirdest screaming I've ever heard.
The screams in this movie were weird.
They didn't make any sense.
There were a lot of
They were really gurgly.
Yeah. There's no classic 50s woman on the cover holding her face
or
Home Alone.
Just a real ass scream. They were all really weird. So then we cut, for some reason,
best opening credit sequence.
This movie cuts to some Japanese tin toys under the film credits. They're robots and tanks. They're pretty rad robots. I'd love to have them. But, I genuinely don't understand why we are watching Japanese tin robots just walking around on the street.
I thought maybe that this movie was trying to think... they were trying to make us think that this was a real war going on. This was in space and there were tanks and robots fighting. We were going to learn where the Astro zombies came from. Then I thought maybe we were going to pull back out of the credits and see some kid or someone playing. Spoiler alert, these toys never come back in the movie until the end
I was
credits.
going to say, until the end credits when they've all fallen over. It's clearly supposed to be some kind of metaphor.
Symbolism.
But at this point, I was reading the credits, and the most interesting part of the movie happened. The assistant director's name was Art Names, and I thought that was a great name. So I wrote it down. We cut in to a car crash that's smoking, but it zoomed way too far in on the hood of this car.
It's like in the episode of Rugrats where it starts off really zoomed in on something, you can't tell what it is.
Yeah, it was that. And again, this guy's making an I'm dead, I have died noise, but it's just I wish he were exaggerating. That's really what it sounded like.
You remember that episode of SmackDown where Kevin Owens powerbomb Shane McMahon on the crate?
What a cut, but yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So then
We do a little splicey there.
The dead body falls from the car, and it pans to this guy that's crouching on the side of this hill in a field or something.
He's got the weird eye thing going on.
But he's crouch walking, and he's hunched over for some reason, and I'm what's this fool doing? Why is he crouched like this? Is he trying not to be seen?
Like in Skyrim, I'm crouched right in front of you, but my sneak's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of...
Sorry.
It's kind of explained later when we see this character later on of he does have a hunch.
Mm-hmm.
But then you see him in a lab in a dark room, and it kind of works. When you see him out in the middle of a bright-ass field...
When you see him in the middle of that bright-ass field, he's clearly just crouched over. He doesn't have, a hump. He's just crouching.
He doesn't have a hump or a limp or anything. He's going... I'm a crab cat.
So, he struggles to get around the car because, the weeds were too long, and they, snagged on his sweater. And I just was that's the take you want to use, huh? All right. I feel like this movie only used one take for everything. And,
he drags the guy away. His shoe falls off while he drags him.
Yeah, I thought maybe that was going to come back. This was a guy we were going to have to look for. And they were going to be oh, we can't find him. But here's his shoe. And, use that to somehow figure out where they went.
We're giving this movie far too much credit.
No, we gave this too much credit. I was okay, maybe... Maybe. No. Mm-mm. Never comes back.
I mean, the guy does, but...
Well, the guy does, but the car and the shoe never do. So then, this movie cuts to a lot of people, and this one was the most befuddling to me at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So we cut to this guy rewinding some audio film, a fucking 2-reel audio, in a car, and we wait on this man for far too long.
And we see him wind up.
We watched this tape wind from the beginning to the end.
We're just cutting around this car and looking out the window. They're around L.A.
Yeah, we find out they're in L.A.
Freeway.
This guy looks bored in this shot. Like, it takes way too long. Like, I don't understand. We could have had guy rewinding the audio tape, not the whole thing like we see here. Car drives under a sign that says L.A. That's all we would have needed. But no. Instead, you get like 2 minutes of rewinding audio and the valley.
This movie is 92 minutes long. I feel like they just padded out so much stuff just to make that hour-and-a-half mark.
You could have told the story in half an hour.
Probably.
Like, no joke.
Also, not a word has been spoken so far.
Yeah. Oh, and then we just cut to some plastic organs.
Yep. And this is where the first word in the movie is spoken.
The dialogue is impossible to hear.
We had to turn on subtitles.
We had to turn on subtitles, and then I was still confused at times because there are so many goddamn people in this movie that are really hard to keep straight because it's just brown-haired man, brown-haired man, brown-haired man.
Yeah.
I remembered Juan because he was Hispanic man. But all the brown-haired dudes, I had people's names completely wrong. Remember Dr. Beveridge? That was Petrovich the whole freaking time. We thought these were two separate people. It was horrible. So we meet Dr. Porter and Dr. Petrovich, who I thought's name was Breckenridge, who you thought his name was Beveridge.
To be fair, I didn't think his name was Beveridge, but I couldn't hear. That was before we turned on the subtitles.
And we realized that his name was, I kid you not, it sounded like Breckenridge, and it was Petrovich. Horrible.
Here, let me reenact the audio quality of this movie for you.
Oh, God. He got up.
I'm talking about Petrovich, and we're going to kill the zombie, and I got this organ made of rubber. How'd that sound?
Horrible. That's going to sound even worse on a fucking microphone.
Good take, boss. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next break for lunch.
Okay, so they start talking about something confidential. They're worried about these murders that have been happening over the past 6 months because it seems like something related to something Dr. Petrovich was working on.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that Dr. Porter, generic brown-haired man, was an agent the whole time.
Yeah, that just kind of came out of nowhere and never really amounted to anything.
We never saw... This was a moment where I wish we would have seen things instead of just telling us stuff. This movie tells and doesn't show and shows and doesn't tell through the whole thing. It always does one or the other. And I don't understand how or why it breaks these rules literally the entire film. Like, oh, God. So, it turns out Dr. Porter was working with this guy named Dr. DeMarco and Dr. Petrovich, but he was actually reporting to Chuck, the third guy's name.
Well, there was the other guy. There was Chuck, and then there was also Mr. Holman.
Oh my God, I forget about Mr. Holman.
Yeah, Mr. Holman was like the... I wasn't sure what organization it was. I kept calling like the cop group or FBI. So Mr. Holman was like in charge of the cop group, and that's who Dr. Porter was working undercover for. And Chuck also works with the cop group.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about Mr. fucking Dr. Holman. I don't remember.
I don't think he was a doctor.
Whatever.
Full disclosure, we watched this movie on Friday. It is now Monday.
Yeah, we had to put off recording because of a lot of different things this weekend. Namely, you weren't home.
I was very busy. I was making a movie.
Yeah, he was making a movie, which is probably better than this movie. So... Oh, fuck, where were we? Oh, okay. So it turns out, I kept calling him Dr. Marco at first, because again, we hadn't quite turned subtitles on yet, but it was Dr. DeMarco. So they need Dr. Petrovich to help figure out the murders because they think it has to do with Dr. DeMarco, because they were working on transplanting organs and thought transmission?
Thought wave transmission, yep.
Yep. Also, this is where Chuck comes in, because I said, who the fuck is Chuck and why do we need another character? Good. Those are my exact notes on that. Because, my God, I think I screamed that I hated this movie like 8 times.
8?
At least.
18.
So Dr. Petrovich starts talking to how Dr. DeMarco was working on a mechanical heart, which was like new technology at the time.
Yeah, this is in the late 60s.
But he was let go from the space organization. That's literally what they called it. They called it the space organization.
I do remember. I remember seeing that on Amazon in the description, like "let go from the space organization," and that made me think that like the Doctor was going to be an alien, and he gets like exiled to Earth.
No, he just worked for the space organization.
It's far too cool.
While working on thought transmission, which is used to communicate to what I thought was human astronauts in space. Like they were going to thought transmit to people. But no, it gets way weirder than that and so confusing that I had to pause the movie to talk it through with you because I was so confused.
The pseudoscience in this movie is off the fucking charts.
So they're looking at a brain that has a transmitter implanted into it, and it makes the same sound as a tornado siren. Like, everyone, if you've ever lived in the Midwest and it's noon on the first Wednesday of the month, you'll know exactly how that sounds. And it's supposedly transmitting thoughts between, like, brains. And so this is where I had to pause because I could not figure out what the hell they were talking about. So they plan to transmit thoughts to a quasi-spaceman in interplanetary flight. So, like, a fake guy?
They're making an artificial human, and they're gonna give it real people's thoughts and memories without emotion.
Yeah, but the sentence, like they had said 2 seconds ago, was just the word astronaut. So I was so confused if they were using a fake man or a real man.
See, I was in the same boat. I thought they were using this as a way to transmit information between two people instantly without worrying about transmissions or power or distance. So you could, like, got a guy on Earth, just think, and the astronaut in space knows what's up.
Right, instead of radio transmission. Because, as we know, radio transmissions cut out in space pretty often. Like when you are hovering over the moon or when you're coming back through the Earth's atmosphere, transmissions cut off. We know this because we had been in space at this point. So I thought maybe this was a way to get around that. No, they're going to use a fake band. And it was real weird.
And I kept thinking about they were using the, like, transmitting between two people, not a person and a fake person or whatever. I thought they were doing that for, like, the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Until I just kind of gave up on that thought because the movie had already given up on that way sooner than I did.
No, I knew immediately that it was not between two real people, or two living people. And one person even says, like some sort of zombie. Also, it's going to be impervious to micrometeorites because it has plastic skin or something like that. I don't fucking remember. It was really weird. So, it turns out DeMarco was let go because he was experimenting on a live human being and not a cadaver anymore.
Yeah, he'd been able to experiment on dead inmates.
Yeah.
So dead criminals.
Yeah, which at the time I think was still considered ethical. I think. Yeah. I don't remember.
Which does actually come back.
Yeah, it does come back.
That comes back in.
Yeah. So then we whip pan, much in the style of El Santo.
Yeah.
With the weird color cut.
No weird sound effect on this one.
No, and we see the most bored-looking woman with a cocktail while some, like, bongo flute music plays behind her.
They're in some sort of fancy club.
Yeah. Through the whole movie, we do not know her name. I called her the black-haired lady. What did you call her again?
I called her Club Lady.
That's right. It turns out, I looked into this, so I'm going to explain it now. Her name was Satana. But we didn't know that because they never said it. But she was kind of like an Elvira-type character at the time. She was a really popular exotic dancer who played herself in film. And it wasn't uncommon for her to just use her last name, Satana, as her name. Mm-hmm. But they never once said it through the film, and I didn't know this.
They said it once at the very fucking end.
So if you want to call her Satana, go for it. If you want to call her the club woman, I don't care. I have her as the black-haired lady because they literally never said her name.
Yep.
Also, this movie's so low budget. I'm sure no one in the '60s fucking saw this and knew that was her name.
Okay. Or everyone did.
Or everyone did. I don't know. So yeah,
she's hanging out with a guy in the club. The guy's name is Juan.
Yeah, Juan. That's like her, I guess, right hand man type of deal. A chauffeur that's driving the audio tape man.
Yeah.
Drives to the club, and we watch this guy get out of the car and watch the chauffeur back the car up and park it. Why did we need to see that? Like, why? It was just, and he didn't even drive it that far. He literally just like
back up, parallel park,
and then hang out. I also called him Brown Suit Man, and then eventually I called him Brown Suit Accent Man.
Well, we did actually learn his name.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't catch it.
His name is Sergio.
Oh, that's right. He did say that. I do remember now. So, he gives the recorder to Satana, and they're making some kind of deal. And this is another point where I wish we would have seen the deal beforehand because we have no context of what's happening. So I didn't care, and it was just confusing.
I'm okay with not seeing the deal beforehand, but they could have explained the things better.
Yeah, they either needed to show us... I don't know if you hear the dog barking. They either needed to show us the deal beforehand or explain what was on the tape, what the deal was, something. Because again, we're just cutting into the middle of it, and I'm confused. And at this point, this is the first time I typed, I hate this movie already, because we're not that far in. So Sergio, or as I call him, Weird Accent Brown Coat Man, asks for double the money for his tape he has, but we don't know what it is. And Juan, is like, yeah, here's double the money, and he hands the tape over.
And we cut outside, and the chauffeur's standing out there, he's waiting, and then he gets jumped!
Okay, so this is where I first make note of nighttime, daytime. Because I call it, daytime, nighttime. Because I call it daytime, nighttime through the whole movie. Because multiple times in this film, it does the thing where it's daytime, but they try to make it look like nighttime. But other shots directly after these shots are literally pitch dark. To the point you literally cannot see. So I'm not sure if this was broad daylight or if this was nighttime. But the guy takes the chauffeur's clothes and puts them on, and then murders Sergio, or Weird Accent Coat Man.
Yes.
As soon as he gets, he hits him with his car.
Yep. Sergio walks outside, and the car runs him over. Why did he need to be disguised if he's just going to run him over?
Also, he would not have killed him at that speed. I kid you not, he went from stopped to bumping into him, and it was the slowest hit and run I've ever seen in my life.
Sergio is a very weak man.
Sergio is fine. He's at home right now. He would have been fine. He definitely would not be dead. So...
cut to a heart in a fish tank.
Oh, yeah, it does cut to the heart in the fish tank. So I called him Weird Crouching Man. We do find out his name. So, yeah, we cut to the fucking heart in the fish tank, and I have him as Weird Crouching Man. His name is Francho. Froncho. Francho.
Well, I thought it was a French name. It was like Franchot.
No, he literally said Francho the whole time. It might be like Franchot, but that's not how it's said, so that's not how I'm saying it.
To be fair, I just went with... I was reading the subtitles. I gave it the benefit of the doubt because you can't fucking hear people in this movie.
No, Francho, which was the greatest name of any character in any fucking movie. So...
We're in this lab, and we see the dead guy from the car crash.
We're in this lab for so goddamn long, and nothing goddamn happens.
This is where the pseudoscience really fucking kicks in.
Oh my god. This is where I I kid you not, I just wanted to die. Not really, but I hated this. So Francho pushes the body into a secret lab where they're doing sciencey science. And there's just bloop, 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 bloop everywhere.
Bloopity music, not music, but sound effects. And this is where we meet Dr. DeMarco.
I even put, we didn't need more characters. Is this DeMarco now? Because they haven't said his name, but I just assumed that it must be because whatever. So,
And here, when Francho, he's crouched over, it actually doesn't look too bad because you can't see all of him. He's in shadow.
He's wearing a lab coat at this point. Like, he also looks like he might have a prosthetic maybe on under the coat that they couldn't put on under his sweater for some reason. So the effect actually works now. Anyway, so they have the dead body laying on a table, and they put what looks like the head of a desk lamp on it.
I thought it was a funnel painted silver, but it's totally a desk lamp.
Yeah, you were like, oh, what's the funnel? And I was like, no, it's a desk lamp. And you lost it.
There's some joke in here about the light bulb going off, but...
Yeah, so then,
they're extracting his memories.
Is that what they were doing?
Yep, they're extracting his memories and putting them on a chip.
Oh, because I heard all these weird voices start to play, and I was like, what are they doing? Because it was really hard to follow what they were doing because they were using all these science word jargon, and it would be, really long silence as we watch something for far too long, and then he would just be like, begin the brain do-ba-la-ba-ba-la-boo.
What the fuck are you talking about things that last too long? They show this console. They have to put, a chip in, or take a chip out or something. And it's got it's a panel with 4 screws on it, and they show him unscrewing every screw. Then he opens it up, and it's a box with 2 screws on it, and they show him undoing the screws, take the chip out, screw them back in, put it in, put the panel back on and screw the freaking damn thing on.
You think he's kidding? No, it really does that, and it for real takes what feels like an hour.
It's science fiction. You get to choose how many screws are used. Use one. Or a latch. Give it fucking Velcro. My goodness.
Oh, I do remember now that it was the extraction of his brain because I have in my notes right after that. Wait, the extraction of what? His brain?
Because
it was, and then it's like they talk about the last people for some reason, which doesn't make any sense. Like what? This sciencey science goes on for it feels like an hour.
That's where the third subtitle of this episode should be pseudoscience, sexism, pseudoscience, more pseudoscience.
We're a third of the way through this movie by the time this lab scene ends. I know because we paused it.
Yeah.
And nothing has happened.
And your cry of dismay.
Well, we paused and I realized we were a third of the way through this movie and nothing had happened. And I was so bored. And I wanted to go play Final Fantasy some more. That's what I was doing before you got home.
The general gist of this scene is they need the brain. Mm-hmm. They take the memories out. And they got to keep the body so it's got its motor skills. But no emotion.
Yeah, they keep its muscle memory in, but get rid of the rest of its memory. And we don't need all of this explanation. They're like, we need to make sure the brain is a calculating machine that can take transmission and move, but not retain its own thought. And you're like, that's great. You could have just told us this in a scene that was 2 minutes long, where it's like, begin the extraction, and then you explain that to Francho, and then we cut away. We did not need...
the blood extractor, which I thought he said was the butt extractor.
Oh, yeah, you're right, the blood extractor, because this is where I had time to Google things. But we have a little bit before that. So... yeah, okay, where are we?
So they suck out all his blood.
Yeah. They start...
and it's all gurgly and way too silly.
So yeah, they were like, we have to switch the blood out of this body for some reason. So I was looking at the blood, and it's not the right color, and it's really translucent, and it made me wonder what it could be. So I thought maybe it was either Jell-O that had not solidified yet, or Kool-Aid. And this scene took so long that I had time, more than enough time. We're talking, I Googled this, and there was still 5 minutes of scene left, it felt like. When Kool-Aid and powder was invented. When do you think it was invented?
70s?
No, Kool-Aid powder was invented in 1927. So it could have been Kool-Aid.
Yeah, very well could have been.
Very well. That's what it looked like. That's what I'm going with. Kool-Aid blood.
So it takes them way too long to suck out the blood.
Oh, and we still have a little bit more time.
And then they shove his body in the freezer next to the peas.
Yeah, they put his body in the freezer so that they can transplant the fake heart into him, but his cells cannot decompose at all. Which, even if you put a body in the freezer, is impossible. Yes, it slows down the rate of decomposition, but this guy's been dead laying on this table for a while. His cells are decomposing, y'all. There's no.
Well, to be fair, they called it something other than just the freezer, so I'm just assuming it's some BS pseudoscience freezer that has magic.
I thought they just called it the freezer.
It was some sort of fancy name, but it's just a
it was just like a walk-in fucking freezer.
Okay. From next to the freaking DiGiorno's in there.
Yeah. So then we cut.
He wakes up in 1,000 years later in New York.
So we cut to a different lab.
I called this the Bright Lab because the caption said bright music.
It did say that. And I believe this was actually DeMarco's original lab because it's like Petrovich's lab. And I think it's his lab from before he had to have the secret lab. I don't know. So I'm like, why are we here? And then we find out it's Petrovich's lab. Yeah. And Porter walks in and he bites one of the assistants from behind. Like playfully, like flirting. And
there's two lab assistants in there.
Yeah,
there's Lynn and the redhead lead,
Janine, who
we find out her name way later.
I thought her name was Dr. Petrovich the whole time because they're talking. He's talking to her and says Dr. Petrovich, and she responds, and I was like, that must be her name, because my brain still thought Breckenridge was the other guy's name. No, her name was Janine. I felt real stupid when I realized it. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm not this dumb. I'm not this dumb. Like, I'm not that smart, but I'm not this dumb.
She comes up and, like, kisses her. I thought this was pure sexual harassment. No, they're a couple.
No, they are like a thing. Because he like pinches her butt, and I'm like, well, she doesn't hate it, so I don't know that it's necessarily sexism. And then it's like, oh no, this is his girlfriend.
He's picking her up to go on a date.
Yeah, like this is like his actual factual girlfriend. So they're doing DeMarco's experiments on like fake organs? ? Or like on organs, not like actual bodies. They're trying to recreate his brain, I think. I don't know.
I forget what they're even attempting.
Yeah, so Dr. Porter and the redheaded lab assistant, Janine, they're like, ooh, flirty. Yeah, whatever.
Flirty butts and stuff.
So then we cut, because this movie hard cuts. Just...
Well, they leave.
Yeah. They're
Porter
going to the club.
Janine leave, and so does the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
But the other assistant, Lynn, she stays.
Yeah, she stays to clean up. She's like, I'll clean up here. You guys go have fun. So Petrovich leaves. Dr. Porter and Janine go out together. Whatever, fine. So it cuts back to Satana, and it turns out the tape was DeMarco explaining the Astro Man, which, like, I don't know how the hell she would understand the medical jargon, but apparently she does. But we don't know why she wants this information. Why do we listen to a heartbeat for 30 seconds straight?
Heartbeats play a lot in this movie as sound effects. Like, even before the first woman in the beginning died, there's a heartbeat playing.
I think it has to do with the Astro Man itself. I don't know. But they're trying to play it off, but they play it so often that you're not sure what the symbolism is supposed to be anymore.
Yeah.
Because I thought maybe it was supposed to be about the Astro Man, but then they just play it all the time, so it gets weird.
Because using a heartbeat in a movie is to build tension is actually a pretty common thing. A lot of movies have it, but very, very quiet. Mm-hmm. So you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
But an increasing heart rate increases the tension in a scene. This heartbeat was so loud, and it was not increasing in tension. speed or anything.
No, and it wasn't. It was never really played in too many points of tension until later, where the movie tries so hard. It tries so hard to make a tense scene later, but it fails for multiple reasons. But it is.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
We'll get to it, but it's trying to do something that's in a lot of suspense movies. Yeah. I was watching Evangelion and they pull it off better, but we'll talk about that later. We'll table that. So, Liz is in the lab. She's cleaning, like... Lynn. I had a Liz, whatever. She's about to die.
Spoilers!
She's in the lab. She's cleaning, like, some fucking, I don't know, test tubes or something. And then you hear the wow, 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 again, and the fucking alien man stabs her.
Just comes out of nowhere and grabs something and starts stabbing her.
But the thing is, it doesn't stab with any kind of force. This is the most limp wrist stabbing I have seen in my life.
We also, like, it keeps cutting back to the shadow of the stabbing.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes on again for so long that it makes the stabbing boring.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It's not like it's. It happens for so long that it loses even the slightest amount of impact it would have had.
Yeah, because you're like, oh no, she gets stabbed. And maybe you show 1 or 2 stabbings and then we move on.
Yeah.
But this is like, she gets stabbed. We cut to the shadow. It keeps limply stabbing. And
we cut back to her and now her shirt's torn and we see her bra because sex appeal.
Yeah. And then it cuts back to the shadow. And it just... it 2 to 3 stabs, people. That's all we need. That's why slasher movies work so well. Because you see Michael Myers come out of the shadow, stab, 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 you're dead. Like, that's why it works.
Or, you know, you show a little bit, then you let your mind do the rest. Because your mind's probably going to come up with something scarier.
Right. So we cut back to the club where a topless woman that is fully body painted comes out to do a dance to some bongos. And we see naked titty, like, full
cut to the club where boobs happen.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, we're going to see some exotic dance. Fine. But
guess what?
It lasts for goddamn ever.
There is, for the first part of this performance, probably about 1.5 to 2 minutes, there is no cuts.
Yeah, just her dancing. And then it eventually cuts to the table where I think Chuck, Janine, and Dr. Porter are sitting. And Janine is into it, by the way. Don't know if you noticed. She was into it. She also had the biggest hair.
She did.
And not that it matters. And then it cuts back to the woman dancing. And we get just...
it just goes on for so... We see the entire performance of the song.
Mm-hmm.
They cut back to the audience, and then there's someone coming out from the hallway in the back. I'm like, oh my god, there's something. They're going to stab on the... Is that one of the zombies? Oh, it's the waitress.
It's the waitress. This movie's 90 minutes long. It already feels like it's been 90 minutes. Movie has time for this whole dance, apparently.
And we got a close-up on the woman's butt, then a close-up on her boobs, then a close-up on her vagina.
We did, didn't we? Oh, and then... Is this where the waitress, like, turns around and she leans over and they look at her butt?
That's in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
That's the scene.
Yeah, it's this scene.
But then we cut outside and there's some folks from the cop team.
Oh, my God.
And they're looking for...
Somebody.
I think they're looking for Porter.
The problem is... some dudes are going to get Dr. Porter. But the problem is this is another plotline. And we don't know where the hell they are. Because it doesn't look like the outside of the club that we were at before when Sergio got stabbed. Where are they? What are they doing? Can I have some goddamn context to what's going on? I took my glasses off. This is hard to keep straight, much like myself, is what I put.
And then we cut to who I have as other dude. There's a third guy with Satana and Juan.
Oh, did we ever learn his name?
Oh, it's like Turgo or something. We learn at the very end. He's Russian.
Turvis?
I forget.
Oh, yeah, you're right, though.
I just call him other dude.
We learn his name when he gets stabbed or whatever later. Shot. Many fucking minutes later.
And he was at the club, and he's like, there's like porters here, and club woman on the phone is like, get out of there.
Yeah, she's like, don't bother him, just keep tabs on him. Like, they want to know something about him, but they don't want to hurt him. I don't know.
Yeah, and then the dancing ends, and everyone stays sit. There's no standing ovation. Everyone stays sitting because they're all got boners.
Yeah. These dudes,
Because of sanctity.
For some reason, these dudes just say 109. They just go 109, and then they walk into the dark, which has zero lighting. Why did they say 109? What does this mean?
109, the Astro, LA classic rock.
Yeah, like they. I don't understand. So Satana is smoking, and it keeps cutting to her standing around and pacing and smoking.
Listening to the tape.
Yeah, and listening to the tape. It just keeps intercutting to her. And I'm like, why are we hanging around watching people drinking in the club? I hate this.
Yeah, we cut back to the club, and Chuck and Porter are, like, they're balancing shit on a glass. Like, they got, like,
they're
knives and spoons.
They've got, like, he bets him that he can't drink from a glass without knocking the spoon that's balancing a fork on the glass. And he takes out his lighter for some reason and, like, warms them up.
Lights a match, I think?
I don't know. And then he, like, drinks it, and this is where the waitress bends over and they look at her butt.
39.55. You want to count that as a sexism alarm?
Yeah, whatever. Sure, why not? Wee, or whatever the fuck sexism alarm is.
Actually, need to make one.
So a car pulls up, because, of course it does, to the spying guys, and two dudes get out. I think these are the cop guys.
Yeah.
And they walk somewhere. I don't know where they go. Again, it's so, like, when I say there's no lighting, we are talking someone took a camera outside on a full moon and turned the camera on and pointed it at some dudes. Like, there's literally no light.
This is also the point in the movie where I realized that every shot in this movie is either handheld or tripod with static tripod. There is no smooth camera movements in this movie.
So, Juan's there? He's the guy that pulled up? I don't know.
Juan's there with other dude.
I don't know.
We find out one of the cop guys, like, split off, and one of them tails them. The guy that tails them is called Mike.
Oh, I did not know that.
I knew that because the other guy just went to the radio and just went, Mike, 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 Mike.
Oh.
He just kept asking for Mike, even though Mike got killed.
This is a point where I kid you not, I was so confused, I wanted to just leave.
I have a quote from you here.
What did I say?
This movie's not even funny. It's just boring. Worst movie I've seen in my fucking life.
That sounds like exactly what I said. Because I got confused. I didn't know who was spying on who. I didn't know who was driving up on who.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, wait, were they spying on Satana? I thought they were spying on Porter. No, they were spying on Porter, but the cops are spying on Satana. I don't know.
And Satana's still in the room in a club. Is it the club in, like, a hotel room? Like a suite above? I don't fucking know.
We don't know, because later when they leave this fucking building, I have a note about it. I will tell you in a minute, because we're almost there.
She just stands up from her chair, and we hold on the empty shot of her chair for so fucking long.
So they kill...
I minored in holding on wide shots for too long.
They kill the spy with a silenced pistol, and I didn't know who had the gun. I was like, Juan had a switchblade. I didn't see that she was holding the gun.
Yes, Tina had a gun.
And
Mike falls in a pool.
Yeah.
Apologies about Sadie barking.
Yeah, okay. So this is where I got confused as to where the fuck they were. Because they leave the building, and there's an industrial exit sign, like, that you see in, like, warehouses or stores and stuff. And the wall outside is concrete, like concrete cinder blocks. But the inside's like a fancy hotel room or a fancy house. And yeah, the outside's made of concrete blocks. And I just realized it has to be a hotel. She can't live there because later she says, I don't want to spoil it because it makes no goddamn sense. But she says something that makes it seem like she does not live there, so it must be a hotel or something. But it's really fancy. you wouldn't think it would just be gray-ass concrete blocks with an industrial sign.
I think it's just a bad choice of choosing locations.
Yeah.
That there's, you don't have to film with two buildings exactly where they are next to each other.
Right. So the other cop gets into a gunfight with Juan and other guy, and it's Echo City up in this gunfight.
Yeah.
It's just like, they used a fake sound for Satana's gun, which was silenced, so why didn't you just use a fake gun sound for this fight? Like, it's so echoey. Everyone's like yelling and it's echoing off of the walls.
Yeah.
And this is horrible.
I apologize if there's any echo in here. I just realized that. We should get some soundproofing.
We should. And also the cat's in here now because we had to walk out of the room for a second. And now he's in here eating. So if you hear something, it's probably the cat. Anyway, so we're now halfway through this movie and nothing has happened. But I typed happened HAPPENENNENENET. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was just gonna put happened, but I fucked up. This is where I said this is the worst movie I've ever seen. It's not funny. It's just boring.
So we cut back to DeMarco's lab, and there's a naked lady.
Wait. You're forgetting something.
What naked?
You forgot about the fact that this is where Mike dies in the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, no. Now we go back to she's not naked. She's a bikini babe, remember?
I know, but at the she's lying on the table in a bikini.
Oh, wait.
And, she's got, straps.
Can we talk about something before that, though? Because
sure.
I have an extra note in here where I'm just going to read it how I put it. We go back to DeMarco doing science. Gus pauses to pee, and I try to think of ways to sabotage watching this movie because I'm literally screaming that I want to turn it off. I could be watching the new episode of British Bake Off right now, but no, instead I'm watching this bullshit.
And it was dessert week, too.
It was dessert week. Fucking, come on. I live for my British Bake Show. Anyway, then we cut to the naked lady strapped on the table.
The bikini babe.
Yeah, it turns out she's actually in a bikini. But here's a huge...
babes, how's your bikinis?
But here's a problem with Bikini Babe, is that she looked just like Satana.
I know.
And I thought it was Satana for a second, so I was real confused.
Was this the lady from the very beginning?
No. This was a different lady. This lady was more tan than that lady.
Yeah. I was trying to think if that played in, but even then, the Bikini Babe was very much alive.
Yeah, she was very much alive, and she was tan, and her hair was much darker than the lady in the beginning. So, Francho, whatever, comes up, and he's holding this beaker that's, black and, smoking.
He's holding a very ominous test tube.
And she's screaming, but it sounds like she's having an orgasm rather than screaming to get away.
So DeMarco's like, Francho, stop doing your stuff. Come over here and look at this heart in a fish tank.
Yeah, he's like, there's no need to do your science, Francho. Come over here and let's do my science.
So we find out that the heart that's inside the Astro Men needs light.
Mm-hmm.
It's solar powered. For an internal organ is solar powered.
Well, I mean, they couldn't figure out...
And this is the point where I realized that the Misfits may have written us different Astro Zombies.
Nope.
That was sad.
No. Also, they figure out how to run solar heart with a battery. Okay, fine. But here's the thing that got me. It doesn't just need to be sunlight. It can be powered by any light.
Yep.
And he very much says that, and oh boy, does it come back later. Oh boy, does it come back
This is also the
later.
point where, this scene goes on for a while, and I'm like, I feel I should be taking more notes, but nothing's happening. Oh, it's
Oh
Walter!
my god, my cat. Here, go on. Are you going up? Oh god, I'm trying to help you. Here.
Walter just springboarded onto Caitlin's laptop.
He was trying to get up to see outside on his bed. Here, let me fix that for you. There you go. Is that okay?
That's
All
good
right.
enough.
All right. He does this. Did he type anything? Oh yeah, he typed a shitload of 5s. All right.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of 5.
He also scrolled up. Now I gotta find where the hell I was in my notes.
We're just finishing up on the Bikini Babe scene. We're cutting back to Chuck, home
Oh, here we
reporter, in the cop room.
There we go. Okay, thank you. But yeah, you were like, it's an internal organ. How is it solar powered? And I was like, duh, a chip on the outside of the body. And then you could not get over the fact that it was an internal organ. I couldn't either, but still. So yeah, hang on. There is a little more science here.
Of course there is.
Well, it makes no fucking sense. They're talking about how they're going to save data from geniuses to the brain.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
So they can get, like, the ultimate genius man.
Yeah. Anyway, now we cut to the doctors talking about the murders. And they're talking about... This is where we learn Sergio's name, finally. And I'm like, we're talking about him now? We're halfway through the film. That was so long ago.
Well, they do mention Sergio's name in the beginning.
Oh, I don't fucking remember.
But they said it, like, once.
But they start reading off his rap sheet.
Actually, before this.
Yeah.
This is where I realized that the other guy with Mike...
Yeah.
He was Chuck.
That was Chuck?
That was Chuck. I'm pretty sure it was Chuck.
Oh.
Which makes more sense because Chuck is a cop.
He is a cop guy. You guys, I want you to... Here's your homework. Go to Amazon. Watch this movie. And try to make more sense of it than me. Because you won't. You can't. It doesn't make sense.
Flowcharts or something?
It doesn't help that I was trying to take notes during this confusing-ass movie. But anyway, they start reading his rap sheet. And it's... I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to show, like, this is a really bad guy.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I've watched movies where people have really, really long rap sheets like this. They hold on everything. There'll be, like, 2 counts of murder. Hold. 1 count rape. Hold. This is just assassination, attempted assassination, murder, attempted murder. Like, they just really, really fast run off of everything. And I'm like... You cannot...
They run down this dude's whole fucking life.
Yeah, and you cannot follow it.
He did a bunch of stuff in Budapest.
Yeah, like they talk about how he worked at the Space Association, but they're reading it so quickly you can't follow it. You're like, what? It turns out he had been at DeMarco's last talk before he had been dismissed from the Space Association. That's what's on the tape that he... recorded.
Yep.
Or stole? We're not quite sure.
He also, at one point, used a fake name. His name is Sergio. He used the fake name Sergi.
Oh, yeah!
It's like in Shang-Chi, where Shang-Chi used the fake name Sean.
Yeah.
And...
Yeah.
Is it Katie?
Yeah, Katie.
Yeah. Just fucking calls him out on the plane.
I mean...
It's like, your name's Shang-Chi and you chose freaking Sean?
I mean... It's fine. This is where I found out that that his name was Petrovich, and that I thought it was the lady the whole time. We're really far into this movie, and I had to write a note about it. So Satana's listening to DeMarco's tape again. And again, who the fuck is she? Why do we care? What does she want? This is where we have to know that she is in a hotel. Because... Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the Astro Man apparently doesn't bleed. He can't be stopped by bullets. They say this. Satana says DeMarco made a subservient zombie that she needs for her government.
Something my government must have.
What does she mean? Where is she from? Does she run a country we don't know about? What the fuck is this? What? I have so many questions. They never once
she's got
come up again.
Hispanic guy and a Russian guy with her.
It never once comes up again. And this is why it has to be a hotel. Because she says her government. What the fuck? Oh, by the way, we have very little of this movie left. And so many questions.
This is also where we paused to order Popeyes for dinner.
Yeah, I was hungry.
We were hoping that it would
we were hoping
arrive after the movie.
Yeah, because we didn't have that much movie left, and they were like, it'll be an hour, and then it was there like 20 minutes later, and we were like,
great speed on DoorDash.
Thanks, DoorDash. Yeah.
We had to pause the movie and come back to it.
So Satana and... I didn't want to. So Satana and Juan make a plan to find DeMarco's lab. Using an RF signal, and that they're gonna drive around LA.
Radio frequencies and...
You know, of all the pseudoscience in this movie, I'm willing to accept this one. So, Janine...
cut back to the Bright Lab.
Yeah, we come back to the Bright Lab, and Janine has to take a look at the photos of the dead bodies. It turns out she was a ward nurse as well as DeMarco's assistant.
She was DeMarco's assistant. This
Yeah.
is also where we learned that her name is Janine.
Yeah, this is where they're like, Janine, look at these photos. And you're like, oh.
So basically, she was around when DeMarco made the first Astro Man.
Yeah.
Now, that man had a defective brain because it was the brain of a serial killer.
Yep.
So it got out, broke into the lab, killed Lynn, thinking Lynn was Janine.
Yes. Because it wants to kill Janine because Janine's like the last person it saw at some point.
Yeah.
So, she talks about freezing the organs, and they're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to lure the zombie to the lab using Janine because they specifically tell her she has to hang out the window every now and again so that way she can be seen from the outside.
I'm all alone and bored in here.
Yeah.
In this sweaty, hot room.
Yeah.
I got to start taking all these clothes off.
Yeah. And then they're gonna like lure it to the lab so that way Porter can kill it, I think. Meanwhile, Satana and Juan have mapped out where DeMarco's lab is. And they have to drive around the city with this thing. And this is where daytime, nighttime comes in again. Because every time we see the car, it's really, really bright out. But there's the sound of crickets. And anytime we're at night anywhere else, it's pitch black.
Yeah, when you're in the car, they don't even make an attempt to hide the bright-ass blue sky.
Mm-mm.
They just kind of turn down the exposure a bit.
Yep. Okay.
To be fair, though,
Mm-hmm.
they could have... I mean, they hold on some of these driving shots with Satana and these folks for a long time. They could have held on a lot longer. They go over the entire fucking city.
They do. They drive
They
everywhere.
could have dragged this movie out to 2 hours with that stuff alone.
They could have, because they keep cutting back to them driving, and even still, it still goes for way too long, but it could have gone way longer. So it cuts back to DeMarco's lab, where he's sciencing some more, and he's working on the new Astro Man to replace the Murder Man, as I put it. But good God, science talk. He says the words Astro mobilization. I don't know what that means.
This is also the moment where I realized that Francho.
Mm-hmm.
Francho?
Francho?
Francho.
Francho. Sorry, Francho. Uh-huh.
I'm still thinking of Rancho.
Weeks ago. Anyway, go on.
Where he's there, and he's a mute, so he hasn't said anything. And we do get confirmed later that he is a mute.
Yeah.
And I realized that he's actually there just so DeMarco has someone to exposit to.
Yeah.
For the audience. Which actually isn't a terrible idea.
No, we see that in a lot of movies.
Boring dialogue.
Yeah, I get that they're trying to explain what's going on and like what he's doing, so he's saying it to Francho, but it's such boring dialogue that you don't care, and it's.
I also wrote that my feet were cold in this scene.
It's just boring enough and confusing enough to not be super easy to follow, but you can still get what's going on. Like, they've made it just simple enough to be like, okay, but so boring.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to follow it.
They're up in the frequency trying things out with the second Astro Man,
Mm-hmm.
Astro 2, as I call him.
And then
They up the frequency, warning lights and sirens go off, and like, oh shit, bring out another body. Bring out body number 9. And
yeah,
they've been doing this for a while.
Whatever. So poor fucking Janine is still waiting around that lab, waiting to be murdered by the Astro Man.
Well, we do cut back to the fucking car again.
Yeah, we do.
Drive around.
And she's just sitting on a stool like, well, I'll just wait here to die. And like, she's just looking into a microscope because she has nothing to do up there. She knows that she's going to get attacked by the Astro Man.
Mm-hmm.
What do? Yeah, you're just like, well, I'm just hanging out. Like,
And then we cut back. We're cutting back and forth between the car and the lab at this point.
Which ruins any tension that this movie could have.
And there is one shot here where it's just...
Mm-hmm.
It's just the car driving down an alley. And it is actually dark at this point, probably because there's like buildings or trees or something. Or they actually filmed it at night. Think of that. Not concept.
Wow.
And oh my fucking God, it takes so long to drive down this alley. It took 20 seconds before I could even see the car in the distance.
That's not an exaggeration. Is this where they have the shot, for some reason, where they drive through the puddle and it shows them?
The puddle's right afterwards.
Oh, God.
But
They have a shot where for some reason the car, it's like really artsy for no reason, of this car that it drives through like a puddle, and I don't know why they showed
and
it.
they hold on the puddle, I swear, until the ripples stop.
Yeah, they do.
And then we cut back to the lab.
Janine. This is where I'm like, her hair's huge. Is that a wig?
And this is the part where I will give that the movie actually is...
It tried.
Trying to get some tension.
It tried.
We actually have some music here.
Okay, so this is where I wanted to talk about suspense building, because they tried so hard. And you haven't seen this, but I'm gonna cut it with something else that did the same thing and did it better. And I know you haven't seen it. So they're trying to use sitting and waiting for a really long time to build suspense, which can really work in a movie. But there's multiple reasons why it doesn't work here. One, there's too much noise. They have a lot of noise going on because, like, the clock is ticking. There's music. There's, like, 3 different things going on. Also, there hasn't been any tension in this film before this. So the fact that they suddenly just want to make this really tense scene to be scary just doesn't work. The tension, it almost works, but it's not quite there. What they should have done was make it completely silent. Because if you ever watch Neon Genesis Evangelion, there is a scene that, I kid you not, of 2 people in an elevator. And they're just standing there. They don't say anything. There's no music. It holds for 1.5 minutes. The only sound ends up being when she yawns, and it scares the fuck out of you. Because it's sound that cuts into something that, I kid you not, has hung for 1.5 minutes and is so tense. Because these characters hate each other so much that you don't know what's going to happen. Which is what they're trying to do here. And it does not work. And it's so unfortunate.
I feel that the tension works a little bit at the start. But then it goes on for so long that it stops being tension and just becomes boring again.
But the problem... Yeah, that's the problem.
If they built up the tension for a little bit there.
No. I have seen movies that have held on this long and have done it and been tense the whole time. But the problem is that this movie has held on to so many scenes for way too far long that it just feels like other scenes. If this scene had been in, say, Invasion of the Body Snatchers for this long, it would have worked.
Yeah.
Because that movie had so much actual tension in it through the whole thing that you would have been like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, when he's down in that basement looking around, it lasts just as long, and it's just as tense the whole time. This movie, this is the one time it tries, and I felt bad because it fell apart in the end, and I wanted it to work. I knew what they were doing. This is the only scene that I'm like, wow, they really did try. And I felt so bad that it didn't work. Like, it ruined the effect. So, we keep looking around random shit at the lab. For some reason, there's this... the other problem is it keeps cutting too much.
Yeah.
It cuts a lot.
Which I feel like it builds up in the speed of the cuts throughout, which I think is meant to create... They're trying to create more tension, like create the chaos of rapid cutting, building up, and then something happens.
But the things they're cutting to are weird.
Yeah.
Like this glass skeleton on the
And
table.
also, the cuts are happening just slow enough that it isn't creating enough tension. And then when it finally stops and breaks that tension, nothing happens.
Yeah.
It just stops doing the quick cuts. Like, it doesn't stop when, like, there's a knock or a noise or something.
Yeah, that's... The door finally opens, Porter comes in, it tries to do a dramatic sting, and that's when it loses absolutely everything, because it's not the Astro Man, it's Porter. And again, we've seen other movies that have done this sort of thing well, but this just enough wrong to ruin it.
By the time the door opens and Porter comes in, the tension has been completely lost for me. I'm just bored again.
Yeah, I think I even put, like, it doesn't work. I'm bored.
But I did type, the door's opening, something's finally happening. Oh, it's Porter.
No, it's just Porter. So, Whip Pan, it is a very bright 1 a.m.
Ah, yeah.
You were like, it's not 1 a.m. And I was like, it's between 1 and 3 a.m. We know it has to be. They were there past midnight at the lab, so it's got to be 1 and 2 a.m.
I thought it was 3 a.m.
No, because when you look at the clock, it was cutting to 15-minute increments.
See, I thought it was going by hour. I thought we were going midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
No, we were going midnight, 12:15, 12:30, which I caught, and I can see how you didn't catch the 15-minute increments because you were like, I wasn't looking at which hand it was. I fortunately did. So it is simultaneously the brightest and darkest night ever. There's less than 20 minutes left in the movie. How the hell are they gonna wrap this up?
Not well.
So they get to Janine's apartment. And she's getting undressed because, she's going to go to bed.
But I will say, as she's walking up with Porter, we hear the heartbeat.
Yep. So we know the Astro zombie.
Which actually is good. We didn't hear the heartbeat during the last scene.
No, we didn't.
Actually, yeah, that is a good bit of consistency there.
So Janine's getting undressed, but the lights won't turn on for some reason. So Porter's like, I'll go outside and look at it. But he doesn't go out to a fuse box. He just stands under a fucking light with a flashlight for a minute.
Yeah.
So the Astro Man shows up to her house to murder.
Janine, we also hold on a shot. Guess what? We hold on a shot for too long. Janine undressing.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
It's just another fucking shot that lasts way too long.
It did last too long. But
we have to watch her, take off her shoes, and then one stocking, then the other, then take off her skirt, then her...
It did last too long. You're not wrong. It was like, oh my god, okay.
It wasn't even hot.
No. These are 1960s panties. They ain't cute.
Yeah.
So the Astro Man throws her onto the bed and it starts to rip off her clothing rather than stab her right away. And Porter at first cannot hear her when her clothes rip, but then he hears her because she must scream louder. I don't know. And he goes through the door. This is where I was trying to figure out what the fuck happened to the Astro Man because Porter and the Astro Man get into a tussle. They get into a tussle, and all of a sudden there's just this crash, and then the Astro Man is just gone, and Porter's laying on the ground.
They're grappling each other. They knock back into the closet door. The door falls over, and then
the Astro Man's
just kind of gone.
I was like, did he shove it through the door? I don't know, but it turns out that. Porter knocked off the battery pack that runs the Astro Man's heart.
The photosensor.
Yeah, the photosensor. So the Astro Man...
Oh, no, you are correct. It is the battery pack.
Yes, it's the battery pack. Because it has to have the battery for the Astro Man's heart. And this is where the light comes back in.
Because it's night out, and it's got a photosensor on its head for solar power.
So, just power in general. It's any light, remember? DeMarco says this. So the Astro Man took Porter's flashlight... And it turned it on, and it's just holding it against its forehead,
and just running down the street.
Down the street. We cut back to this thing running down the street, holding the flashlight directly to its forehead, 3 times.
And again, in a similar way to Francho, I think we've changed his name 4 times now.
Francho.
Yeah. Where it's when you see him in the lab, he's kind of covered in shadow. He works a little better. He's out in the field, he just looks kind of doofy. This is where we see the full Astro Man in day as night, because it's fucking bright out.
Not when the Astro Man's running, it's not.
There's a couple scenes he is.
Oh, okay.
And he's just just fucking flashlight.
He's got the flashlight. He's got a flashlight against his head. His other arm is flailing as he runs. And it's just a guy wearing black with an alien mask on, but the alien mask cuts out his mouth for some reason. I don't know. And he's running back to DeMarco's lab. And again, we just keep cutting back to this. So this is what I put. Why does Astro Man need a flashlight? It's the brightest midnight ever when Santana's on screen. When Astro Man is on screen, it's the darkest night ever of all time. Because it really is. It's so fucking funny. So, Satana's other accomplice, Turgis or whatever, tries to...
Tyros, that was it.
Oh, thank you.
They finally say his name. I've just been calling him Other Dude the entire time. Or OD.
Yeah.
His name's Tyros.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna backstab you, Satana. Fuck off. But Juan kills him while delivering the most awkward dialogue of all time.
It's a really weird kick to get the gun out of his hand.
Yeah, I didn't think it connected at all. I don't think it did.
And this is my favorite part of the movie that happens next.
Oh, go on. I'll let you explain it if it's your... Oh, I know. Okay, I know.
This is where we pause the movie to eat Popeyes and watch Game Grumps.
Yeah, we did. It was great.
That was my favorite part.
It was my favorite part, too. I didn't want to come back to this. I was trying to think of an excuse to not finish the last 10 minutes of the movie.
I had chicken strips. They were very tasty.
Mm-hmm. I had fucking thighs. Anyway, so we cut.
Yeah, you do.
Shut up.
Z-top.
So we cut back to the lab, and it cuts back to Bikini Lady, or I'm sorry, Bikini Babe, who's still tied up to this table. She gets injected with a sedative, and this is where we find out Francho's doing his own science with Bikini Babe.
Yeah.
He's doing his own experiment, because DeMarco's like, Francho, stop with your own science, come help me. And DeMarco's working on the Astro Man, because he's trying to get it to work.
This is also where I realized, I thought this was there's only one Astro Man. This is the second Astro Man.
Yeah, this is the second Astro Man.
I thought that we just missed when the first Astro Man, with the fucking light on his head, got back.
No. So Satana walks into the room, and DeMarco's talking about the battery, and he's like, what are you doing here? I'm doing science. The other Astro Man, still jogging with one arm flailing.
Dope. Astro Man 1 comes back, and he just walks in.
Well,
not menacing.
Hang on, because this is where you find out DeMarco admits that the Astro Man was a psycho killer, and it was the only brain he could get.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he on murder spree row. And the first Astro Man makes it to the lab because he wants to get fixed. And then the police show up, and they're somewhere. Who called the police?
Oh, that was Porter.
Oh, I forgot he called the police.
I forget how they said, like, when they found the battery pack, like, we can tail him now. I'm not sure how. I'm not sure I missed that, or they just didn't explain it, but cops show up.
Yeah, I'm like, are they outside the lab? We don't have an establishment for where this lab actually is.
Yeah. Also, when we cut to the outside while the cop cars, it cuts off DeMarco's line mid-word.
Does it?
Yeah.
What did he say?
I forget exactly what he's saying, but he's like, the Astro Man will continue the metamorphosis and progress the human race. Woo! Like, he gets to the last word in his sentence, but it just...
I did not catch that.
I don't know if that's what he said, but...
Whatever.
Yeah.
So... Juan... I put can kicks Francha, the lab assistant, because he just, like, his leg is down, his leg is up. Like, straight, like, can girl. It, like, kicks Francho, and then he stabs him. And then Astro Man takes a machete and just starts chasing... Where the machete came from, I don't know. And starts chasing everyone, and then the police show up, and they shoot Juan. So Juan's dead.
Juan gets shot by, like, 8 cops, and his death lasts for so fucking long.
It does.
But this time I was okay with it because it was fucking funny.
It was really fun. This was like... This was the actual, like, funny part of the movie. So Astro Man's murdering. He chops a dude's head off.
Yeah.
It rolls across the floor. It's fucking comical.
He gets another dude right, like, down the middle of the head, like it stops at his forehead.
Yeah, it's kind of rad.
Yeah.
So he attacks...
Like, okay, this movie's kicking off, yeah.
So then he attacks Janine again, but Porter stops him. And DeMarco's like, I have to destroy the Astro Man in order to save the other Astro Man for some reason. So he goes up to a box. And we don't know what this box is. It's not explained as to what it is. And he throws a switch, and the Astro Man dies. Like, the first Astro Man is like, bleh, and it fucking dies. And we're like, what? Huh? What just happened? At this point, I must assume it must be some sort of kill switch that didn't get explained at all. And DeMarco's like, I'm going, like, the Satana, like, no. Like, she doesn't scream no. She just no.
Yeah.
And then she shoots DeMarco. And DeMarco, oh, this is where we find Satana's name.
Yeah.
She's like, my name's Satana. And in the last second of the movie, the Astro Man shoves DeMarco into the box.
He shoves Satana into the box.
He shoves... You're right. So the Astro Man shoves Satana...
Like a big old fuse box.
Yeah, because the first Astro Man's dead. Second Astro Man gets up immediately for some reason.
And Satana's like, you're under my control. Kill the cops. What are you doing?
And it shoves Satana into, like, this fuse box. And it's kind of brutal.
Yeah.
Like, all these sparks fly out, and she crumples and dies. And that kills the second Astro Man immediately. Then the movie, inexplicably, cuts to the toy robot.
What? We have the line, the message of the movie.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed it.
There's one element of basic human life that can never be removed. The emotions. Oh. Cut to toy robots.
Yeah, it then cuts to toy robots flipped over on their back, like still running as the movie's just like end, and then it just ends.
My final note of this movie I have in my notes is, wow, was that ever crap? Did you have a good time at the fair?
No. No, I had the worst time at the fair. I've never watched a movie that I've been so confused and that I hated so much.
The movie was not very good.
So, okay.
So, overall thoughts.
My overall thoughts? This is the worst movie I've ever seen.
And you've seen Ghost Rider 2 in theaters.
I have. I don't remember much of it, other than the scene where he spins. Like, it's all I remember.
I don't know if this is the worst movie I've ever seen.
Well...
Probably just because I knew going in, it was... Maybe it is.
I'm going to tell you
Last Airbender still holds that title for me.
Let me tell you. In my fun facts, I literally have... Critics regard this as the worst film ever made. Yeah. Like, a lot of critics.
I didn't realize I picked such a banger.
Yeah. So
what other fun facts you got for me?
This movie was shot over 6 days.
You don't say.
Yeah. And the sequel, Mark of the Astro Zombies, came out 33 years later. Satana reprises her role.
Good for her.
I think she's the only one.
Wait, how? I guess it's zombies.
I think they had her in a different name. So I think her name was like, I don't know. But she's in it. Like, she is in it. I think she might be a different character, but same lady. Yeah. Do you want to watch a good movie or a bad movie?
It's your call.
Oh, God. Okay.
We watched a good one, and then we watched an alright one, then a bad one.
Let me see if I can find this one.
I've also realized that all the movies you picked were black and white, and all my movies have been color.
Has that been true?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, God, Monster, Santo, and Zombies.
Okay.
All color, shrewd.
Okay. We can watch this movie on Amazon. I just looked it up.
Okay. Well, before that, do you want to do our rank? We don't need to discuss the ranking, do we? I think we both know where this stands.
Where does it go?
It's number 2, right behind Body Snatchers.
No, it's not.
It's number 6. It's the bottom of the list, ain't it?
Yeah, and I don't know that we're ever going to watch anything. I say that now. But we're gonna watch.
We hit the bottom of the barrel pretty quick there.
Yeah, we did. We're gonna float back up, I think, toward the top. This movie could beat Rancho pretty easily.
Do you want to give our, just for those at home, our current ranking?
Yeah.
Going bottom up. At 6, we've got Astro Zombies. 5 is Attack of the Killer Shrews. 4 is God Monster of Indian Flats. 3, I cannot fucking talk.
3
is El Santo versus the Riders of Terror. 2 is Tarantula, and number 1 is Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
We're not going to be able to do this every time.
I know.
But I feel like eventually we can just be like, number 20, and then say like a couple of them maybe. Yeah. But I think we're going to flip back up to the top.
All right.
And we're going to finally watch a movie that I picked that's in color. You can watch this on Amazon. So you remember how we had a cowboy theme for a while there?
Oh,
we're going back to some cowboys. We're going to watch Valley of the Gwangi.
Yeah!
Yeah,
Cowboys and dinosaurs.
Yeah, we're going to watch the Valley of Gwangi. I looked it up. You can watch it on Amazon.
Thank you.
I was going to pick a different one, and then I was like, no. That movie's too good. I got to save the movie that's like really, really, really good for a little bit longer. This movie's going to be really good, though, but not like Body Snatchers good, which is, I think, my next choice could be like Body Snatchers good.
Body Snatchers is like an actual good movie.
That's like, yeah, that one's a genuinely good movie. Like, well made. So yeah, your homework is to watch Dinosaurs and Cowboys.
I just remember we did watch that. There was an Asylum movie called Dinosaurs vs. Cowboys, and we watched it, and it was not good.
It was really bad. No Asylum movies. I'm sorry. That's not happening.
Nah.
No.
Asylum movies there. It's got to be before 2000.
Yeah, there's a couple exceptions that I have kind of floating around that I'm like, I think we can make exception that this movie was made in 2000. I'm holding on to that one.
Battlefield Earth.
Ooh, girl, you know it.
We'll get there eventually.
We'll get there eventually. There's a couple other ones that people have told me that we should watch before that I'm like, okay. They're post-2000s, but I think we can make an exception occasionally. especially if we're going to watch all the Godzilla movies at some point. We're going to have to make exceptions. So, yep.
Alrighty, well, that was Astro Zombies. That was a pile of shit. Also, I just remembered, I forgot.
I was going to make a joke. Go on.
Go for it. Go for your joke.
Astro Zombies. I'm sorry. Go on.
Top tier comedy here. No, it's, the movie was just Astro Space Zombies, but on the title card in the actual movie it was The Astro Dash Zombies.
Yeah.
These movies constantly have two different names.
The Misfits wrote about this one.
Danzig, you let me down, man.
To be fair...
It's not the first time, and it won't be the last.
To be fair, Gamma Bomb did not let us down when they talked about Miami Super Cops.
We can't watch that for this year.
No, we can't. But everyone, go out, find this movie called Miami Super Cops. We can't watch it for this podcast, but I can tell you all to watch it because it has the greatest soundtrack of all time.
It's on YouTube for free. And also check out the song Miami Super Cops by Gamma Bomb. That's how I found about this movie. It's a fucking great song.
Okay, let's end this podcast.
Okay, we're playing a different song now. It's not as good as Gamma Bomb. All right, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at itcamefrom20k pod. I remembered it this time.
You did. Good job.
Because I have it in front of me.
Whoa.
All right, thanks you for listening. Give us a share and tell people to listen to our weird podcast.
You said thanks you.
I know what I said.
Okay.
Thanks you. Thank for listening.
All right, Francho.
I am sleepy.
Yeah.
I made a movie this weekend.
I gotta go to work.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.